Ooh, what's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 94 of the Stand Up Guys podcast. I'm your host, the incomparable Zach Jones, joined as always by my moon brother from the same moon mother, Lester Jones.
You get worse all the time.
See, I'm looping in the theme of the show. And, of course, we got the ninth wonder, Chocolate Thunder, eating that poon, never stopping too soon, the clit licking, never quitting, having fun, making pussies run, the phenomenal one. Hey, Jay, sing.
Hey everybody, just trying to live up to my intro.
Back to the classic intro this week. All right, well, if you guys didn't figure it out from that glorious intro, we are doing our Better Late Than Never review of Moon Knight. We originally were going to do it last week, but we had a little too much fun talking about Doctor Strange, so we're going to do it this week. But we do got a little bit of time before we get into that for a little bit of small talk. What have you guys been doing this week? You been watching anything else?
I tried to watch Fast 9, F9, I guess is what it's called.
Tried to. Does that mean you failed?
Yeah, there was a point where I think Tyrese says to Dom, so you have a secret brother who leads an army? And I was like, all right, I'm going to turn it off here. I'm done. Because, like, just before that, Dom had crossed a canyon with his car by hooking it onto some rope, and it swung from one side to the other, and he just ended up on a ledge on the other side. So I was like, all right,
that sounds like good engineering.
Yeah.
And I've heard of this one. I'm going to keep watching it. I am going to power through because I have to see where they get to space.
That's what I've heard about it.
I've heard they get to space in this one. So, let's just see that happen. That's all.
I heard some people say they thought like the movie jumped the shark with this one, and I'm like, what series have you been watching?
Yeah. I mean, I know they're going to keep making them. I think James Wan just got in a fight with Vin Diesel on the set of one of them, and he's left the set, so he's not coming back.
Yeah.
But, they're still going to try to make that movie.
Oh, they'll make it.
Yeah.
They've done too much work on it, and they make too much money not to do it, but...
They're going to end up making more of these than Halloween movies.
I mean, supposedly they say they're going to make like 11 of them and stop, but I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, because they're right there.
11's the magic number.
And even if they quit there... You think they're not going to make more spin-offs like that one we watched with the Rock? Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw, and they'll probably all the other characters. We'll get a Tyrese Ludacris movie where it's just them and nobody cares.
There's a Fast and the Furious cinematic universe. There really is. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
I wouldn't know. Proudly.
I've watched a lot of those movies. There's still a couple that I haven't, but I've probably watched more of them than I should have. What about anything else you guys watched?
Probably.
What
do you remember me watching this movie?
Well, I know you watched... didn't you watch the first episode of that Star Trek Strange New
Worlds? Yeah, there's only one episode out.
Yeah, it just started.
So yeah, it wasn't bad. It's got promise.
I watched a documentary on Jared Leto's fan base. And he's got like a cult base. Like
doesn't he like have a legit cult?
Yeah. I forgot. I think there was like something of Ascension or something. I'm not sure what their name is, but yeah, they got a whole weird name and everything. And they started out as like 30 Seconds to Mars fans, I guess. And like he just kind of built that fan base into something creepy and weird over time.
By the way, like, what does it take to get canceled? Because, like, how do you run a cult and not have like something so shady going on that you deserve to be canceled?
I know, but he's good looking, man. He's 50 and he looks like that. That's what it is.
The cult of good looks.
Yeah, I'd never even heard about this one. A cult.
I just saw like a picture of him, like, wearing like one time like a culty, like a white like robe or something, and I think he had like all these people around. He looked like a cult leader.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly is going on with him.
Might require some research.
So I watched a couple things. So I finished Lock and Key season 2. Like that. Definitely in for more whenever that picks up again.
Yeah, that was going strong.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed that. I rewatched a Western that I had watched many years ago with you called The Proposition. It's like an Australian Western with Guy Pearce where like there's like 3 brothers and like right in the beginning of the movie, like him and his he's the middle child, him and his younger brother get arrested and like the like sheriff of this town is like, what we really want is your older brother who's like a rapist, killer, piece of shit. And so he's like, if you got such and such amount of time to bring your older brother back, or we're going to execute your younger brother.
I do not remember this at all.
Anyway, like, it's a good premise for a movie, but overall, like, it's not great. Like, I can't really recommend it. Like, it's okay, but it's nothing to write home about. And then, so a few weeks ago, you were talking about watching Star Trek Picard, so I started watching that.
Yeah.
I finished season 1, and then I'm about halfway through season 2. And, like, I find it, like, enjoyable enough, but I've also been watching the Red Letter Media guys, like, reviews of Picard, like the ones I've already watched. And, like, they're entertaining as well. Like, those guys, like, it's well done. But what's funny is just, like, seeing how... because they'll like go through and like tell you like, because they don't like it, but like a lot of like hardcore Trek people don't. But you can see because they'll like show you clips of, like, oh yeah, this is how they contradicted like this that happened in.
Oh, there's those types of people,
Right? So they like are like can actually like go through and show you like this is why this is incongruent with how Picard has traditionally been shown and stuff like that. And like it's interesting to just see like how being a big fan of something can affect you if they ever like do more of that. Which I'm sure if they ever like made something like really like a Batman project that really went against like how Batman, like, I might be more upset about it, but just being like me and you have like a very like general knowledge of like Star Trek, not like hardcore, so we can enjoy things like this.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that wrapped up in anything where I'd be too twisted out about it.
I mean, no, like even if they made a shitty Batman thing, I'd just be like, oh, okay.
Okay, what if you're like, oh, this is in keeping with Adam West?
I mean, I already like lived through Batman and Robin, so it's not going to get worse than that, I don't think. I hope not. That's the other thing is like
There will be a day when someone produces a huge piece of shit.
oh, 100%. But yeah, I don't even Batman, like, even though I have a lot of knowledge of Batman, like I can't even like come close to some of the like nerds out there that just like dedicate their life to like the real minutia type stuff,
That's one like it's very difficult, like say in those universes where you're like, oh, there's multiple universes, how do we keep track of all this? And you're just like, oh, that happened in a different universe. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, because I mean that's what I think. These comic nerds, like, they have to like pin it down, right? And all you have to do is, if you're a writer, just create like a whole new universe and be like, yeah, that's this version of the character.
It was almost identical to the universe you're thinking of, but it was slightly different.
Everything up until that point was the same, but this is where it changed.
Batman had yellow in his suit in this universe. Like, oh, it all makes sense.
But I mean, they have so many different writers come in and stuff like that. You can't really hold them to it,
Yeah, being consistent over that many episodes is almost impossible.
Yeah.
For retakes and redos and but some people are really hardcore about it.
I mean, when I first got into comics, I didn't know that there were so many like different types of stories about the same character.
Yeah.
So I was confused at first. I was like, "Well, so what is the story?" But then realizing like, oh, there's a reason it is that way. Like there's so much. Like if you want content, then you have to deal with it being a little fractured.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't worry about it that much.
Yeah.
I do prefer probably that each story within itself is kind of self-contained.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, otherwise, everything's out the window.
Yeah, because like I've been listening or I've been watching these like versus battles, and there's so many times where like Hulk has fought Thor and like either one wins.
Right.
So it's like there's no real like consistency.
It's like the Bible where like I believe everything, even the stuff that contradicts the other stuff.
Yeah.
They should have like Bible fights. Jesus versus Moses, round 1.
Jesus versus Thor.
We should make like a
I
Mortal.
think I would like to see that.
We should make like a Mortal Kombat game with all biblical characters, just like violently killing each other.
You can include Muhammad and possibly be violently killed yourself.
He's just a big blur on the screen. Or we could make a Mortal Kombat with like every public domain character now there is.
Public domains.
Oh, did you guys see? So like, for some reason, like Republicans in Florida like are upset with Disney. I think over like their stance on the whole "don't say gay" bill or whatever. Anyway, now one of the like Florida lawmakers is like trying to punish Disney by making it so like copyright laws or whatever like expire faster, which would put like the original version of like Mickey Mouse in the public domain. And so like on one hand, like I don't really give a shit because it would probably just put a bunch of like,
I mean, the truth is they ruined Mickey Mouse a while ago, so it might actually do them a favor if someone started creating good Mickey Mouse content.
I mean, was Mickey Mouse anybody's favorite cartoon character? Like he was their mascot, but like,
Well, he came in early, but I mean, older Mickey was better than like Mickey today.
was he like more violent? I don't think I even watched a lot of classic Mickey cartoons.
Yeah, I think more, mischievous maybe.
Maybe just a little more
heart.
Bugs Bunny, less like.
Right, they've done the same thing to Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes. They took the teeth out of him.
That's true, but at least they, I feel, had like a longer run.
Yeah, and on the whole, they were better probably.
Yeah.
But, yeah, same concept.
You guys got any chit chat left before we get into Moon Knight?
Oh, I'm good.
All right, what's Moon Knight got to offer?
All right, guys, let's do it. So we'll probably do just like a brief like intro and maybe a few non-spoiler things, but most of this is going to be a spoiler-filled breakdown. So the official synopsis of Moon Knight is thus. Stephen Grant discovers he's been granted the powers of the Egyptian moon god, but he soon finds out that these newfound powers can be both a blessing and a curse to his troubled life. The series stars Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, Ethan Hawke as Arthur Harrow, May Kalamawai as Layla El Fuli, I don't know how to pronounce that, and F. Murray Abraham as the voice of Khonshu. I've heard the name F. Murray Abraham, but I have no idea like what else he's done. Okay, so yeah, guys, like overall, kind of what were your thoughts on the show and performances, I guess?
I thought Oscar Isaac's performance was really good. It had to be.
Yeah, I would say that's like the highlight of the show and why it works is how good he is.
Yeah, it's very tricky because you have to draw very distinctive lines between, the exact same physically looking person.
Right, and he does a good job of that. Like,
Yeah, it is pretty good. They're very distinctive.
right.
The accent and the voice changes and the personality changes. I think he did very well.
Yeah, I didn't like the first character that we're introduced to at first.
Stephen Grant.
Yeah, he just seemed kind of weird to me. But I mean, I think the whole point was to be able to distinguish between the different characters, so that's why he was a certain way, and the other characters were the way they were. So, it made it easier to figure out who was who later on. But yeah, at first I thought he was kind of a weird character. I was really hoping the show wasn't completely about Stephen Grant.
Oh, I mean, he was entertaining, but yeah, I guess just because I had like a base knowledge of Moon Knight, I was like, okay, I know where this is
Yeah.
going, and I know there's going to be another, more sides to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's driving the conflict, though, because you need conflict between him and some of his other personalities.
Now, overall, would you guys have a positive outlook of the show? You liked it?
Yeah, I think it was better than a couple of other Marvel shows.
I was going to say, where would you kind of rate, if you were to rank like all these shows they've done so far, what would your ranking be?
Well, my top would be WandaVision, then Loki, and then I can tell you my bottom three at that point. Like Hawkeye is last place.
Right.
Second to last is Captain America, Falcon Winter Soldier, and then this one would be like third from the bottom. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either.
Yeah, I think pretty much I'd be the same, except I might switch like Loki and WandaVision.
Same. Yeah, I think I would go Loki number one, not by a lot, and then probably WandaVision, then Moon Knight, then Falcon Winter Soldier, and then of course Hawkeye. Actually, like on Twitter, like they had that thing, like someone was like rank these, so I put them in that order. But then between Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye, I put like all these like things like full blown AIDS and like duets between country stars and rap stars and Bridgerton and like just like all these horrible things.
Yeah, Hawkeye was rough.
Hawkeye was a rough one. Whew. All right. So I guess from this point on, all spoilers, but let's be honest. Anybody listening to this, you've watched Moon Knight. Don't pretend you haven't. All right. So Wikipedia at least has this handy little episode guide that'll have a good synopsis of each episode, and then we can kind of get into it. So episode 1, The Goldfish Problem. Stephen Grant works at the British Museum in London, where he hopes to become a tour guide using his knowledge of ancient Egypt. After going to sleep one night, he wakes up in the Austrian Alps, which I didn't know it was the Austrian Alps. I was just like, oh, it's European.
Yeah, it's picturesque.
And witnesses a cult meeting led by Arthur Harrow, who demands a scarab Grant unknowingly has in his possession. As he attempts to escape, he has several blackouts and hears a mysterious voice in his head before waking up in his home. Grant realizes that 2 days have passed since he went to sleep. He finds a hidden phone and keycard in his apartment and receives a call from the most frequent number in the phone's call log, a woman named Layla, who addresses him as Mark. The next day at work, Grant is confronted by Harrow, who reveals that he is a servant of the Egyptian goddess Ammit. Grant escapes from Harrow, but is forced to remain at work that night on his own to make up for being late. Harrow summons a jackal-like creature to attack Grant, but his reflection asks to take control of their body. Grant agrees, transforming into a cloaked warrior who kills the jackal. One thing they don't mention in this that I wanted to get your guys' opinion on, and this is something that kind of bookends the whole series. So we open the show on Ethan Hawke's character, and he breaks this glass and basically puts it in his shoes, so he's always like walking on glass. And then like at the very end in like Moon Knight's head, where he has the whole like mental hospital thing, like we see Harrow's bloody footsteps. So like number one, do they ever address why he puts the glass in his shoes? Like, are we to believe like he's some sort of like martyr or masochist or something? And then like what? Like, I'm not maybe good with the symbology. What do you think? Like his bloody footsteps like showing up mean? Does that mean just that like now Moon Knight's aware of his true nature? It's one of those things where I'm like, what are we supposed to be getting out of this?
I think it's just a metaphor for his past. Like it's always gonna follow him. He's got like this trail of blood behind him, and like later on we find out that he's trying to like atone for his sins, and like that's why he's working with Ammit to stop things that stop people like him from rising up and doing those bad things.
So do you think like the glass in his shoes is almost his way of like
Like a masochist.
punishing himself for his past sins?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I was thinking like along those lines of like those monks who will like,
Whipped themselves.
yeah, like it's like a self, yeah.
So yeah, now I haven't watched this series in like, over a week or whatever. You just watched a couple episodes. I remember like in the beginning, like he did things like put sand around his bed so he can tell, like
Right.
He definitely knows that like, he I guess goes out on his own.
Yeah, so apparently he has episodes where like, he goes to bed and he just wakes up in weird places. So he started like putting sand around his bed and tape on the door.
Right.
And he like even like puts like a hospital like belt on his leg. So like in the morning he'll know if he's left or hopefully prevent himself from leaving while he's sleeping. And so there's that. There's also this like weird thing like, so the first day he gets up, whatever, it shows you his routine. But also there's like a fish in the tank that has like one fin like Nemo. Mm-hmm. And that'll come back into play later, but it's kind of pointless. But I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, yeah, fish, one fin. So he gets up. Does he have an episode where he like kind of goes out and then reappears on the bus, or that comes later? I don't remember.
I think it's later.
Later, maybe. But he's also kind of like he has insomnia or something because he's like falling asleep because of the episodes or something. But yeah, he goes to work, right? And he works in the gift shop. And I don't know. I guess probably there's some things that aren't going to make sense. But
Well, I have a question that would have happened somewhere right around this time. Is one of his female coworkers comes up to him, and she says something like, "Are we still on to go on a date?"
Yeah.
So right then we're introduced to like, oh, one of his other personalities like apparently asked this woman out, right?
Right. This is weird because he doesn't know who it. Well, he doesn't remember it, so it was obviously
one of the other personalities.
Yeah.
But here's what I want to know. In retrospect, now that we know Mark, and spoiler alert, now that at the very end of the show we're introduced to Jake Loxley, I think his name is. Which one of them do you think did it? Because knowing Mark's personality, it doesn't seem like a thing Mark would do.
Right, because he's a girl. He has
Layla, who he still loves.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it'd be him. But the other guy is like, he only comes out when it's like time to kill a bunch of people. So he's like a complete psychopath.
Yeah, but I think it was Jake. He seems like the more
You think he's charming?
devious, charming.
He's a ladies' man, maybe.
Yeah, seems like
We don't know. He could be.
The only way I could see it being Mark is if he's like, I feel sorry for Steven.
get him a date.
Yeah, so I'll throw him a bone and get him a date. I don't know. But
This pussy's never gonna do it.
It definitely didn't seem like something Mark would do.
Yeah.
So that's something I had to...
Yeah. It didn't fit very well, and they threw her away pretty much like the next day.
Also, another question. So he's always having these phone conversations with his mom, and and he's always like, later Gators or whatever. Well, later on we find out the truth of his mom, and like she's dead or whatever. So is he just like totally like imagining this in his head?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But yeah, he calls and talks to his mom like every day. They have a great relationship. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, so it goes through that. It basically shows you like his everyday life. And then that night he goes to bed, and that's when he wakes up in the Alps. And like his jaw's all jacked up. He's been beaten up or something. And so he's trying to get his bearing, and that's when Conchu makes his first appearance.
Right, we hear Conchu's voice.
He's like, the idiot's in charge or something, because he's back in the body, and apparently he's the idiot.
By the way, can we get to this now too? Like, so later on we get like the origin story where he was almost dead. He went into the pyramid or whatever. Conchu sees him and says, "Do you want to, be the warrior for the travelers of the night or whatever he says, and he turns him into Moon Knight.
Right.
Now, once he finds out that he's like this crazy multi-personality guy, I feel like he would drop him. Because why does Khonshu want to put up with this shit? Because Khonshu basically just wants a Jake Loxley.
Well,
when Khonshu meets him, he talks about how like him having multiple personalities is a good thing, like it benefits him.
But I don't see how it does.
Well, Ethan Hawke talks about like maybe he picked him because his mind is broken, so he's like easier to break. But we kind of skipped over this thing, like, so there are these gods and like they have some covenant where they don't actually act in the world, but they have human avatars that they can give certain powers to, and so these people can go out in the world. And so, Khonshu had chosen him at the point of death and basically offered him these powers if he wanted to live and do his bidding.
Right.
But yeah, for whatever reason, he thought this guy was good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, he could find a guy that's just a stone cold killer that he I would think he would do his bidding easier, but
well, in the comics, like Khonshu's plan is actually to like take over Jake or Mark Spector's body completely.
Oh,
So like he wants him to be fractured so he doesn't know what's real and what's really happening, and so he can take over easily.
see, if they would have set that up, that would have been more interesting, I think.
Who knows? Maybe season 2.
That's another thing is, do you think they're going to do a season 2? There's been speculation about this because I guess like they submitted like the show for like Emmy consideration, but they put it under like limited series, which when you do that, it's supposed to mean that it's only a 1-season show. But then like apparently like one of their promo things for a minute said when the last episode was coming, called it a series finale, and then they changed it to season finale. So now like people don't know whether they actually plan to do another season or not.
I kind of think they would.
Would you guys prefer a straight up second season, or would you prefer they just kind of like, now that we know who he is, like filter him into the MCU?
I mean, after they've gone all this way only to like save the the crazy character for like to drop at the very last episode, that's like, it's like a cliffhanger-ish.
Right. It seems like you would want just
right, you want
another-
more of that guy.
Yeah. See what he's all about.
Right, there's mystery there. They set up the mystery.
Well, I mean, they're definitely. I'm assuming they're going to pay that off somewhere. I just don't know if it's going to be in a Moon Knight season 2 or if
he gets integrated, possibly.
Right.
I mean, I am looking forward to a Midnight Suns like team up between like Moon Knight and Blade and all of them.
There is speculation. Now, I've never read like Midnight Suns. Like traditionally, is that who's in it? Is like Blade and Moon Knight? And...
I'm not sure who. I think. No, I'm not sure who else. Yeah, but like
it's mostly characters with some sort of supernatural bend.
Type, yeah.
Okay.
I think Daredevil might be one of them too, just because he's like out at night in Hell's Kitchen, and I think they're all around New York or something.
Okay. That's one weird thing about Marvel is like all the heroes are like New York City almost. It's like crowded.
But that would be a good team up, I think. And the characters are all like, I think they're pretty much well introduced. We've already seen Daredevil in the old series and Moon Knight in this one, and Blade's kind of been touched on a little bit. So I think they're well on their way to get there.
Yeah, and they got like a Blade series eventually coming, right, with Mahershala Ali. Yeah. So, all right. Oh, they kind of went out of the way to make his like female boss like a real bitch too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think she's supposed to,
she was a piece of work. Yeah,
like a callback to his mom.
Okay, so you were saying he wakes up in the Alps.
Apparently the Alps. Yeah, and so he's confused. Khonshu's telling him to give the body back to Mark. For whatever reason, he has this golden scarab in his pocket. And kind of when he comes out of his daze or whatever, there's like some people in a window, and then they take out machine guns and start shooting at him or something.
Yeah, which if that first guy was on the ball, he would just be dead.
Yeah, he's like, oh, hi. And he's like waving to him, and then like the other guy sticks his out in the window. Is like, yeah, let's shoot him. And then they both start shooting at him. The first guy's like, "Nerd, nerd, nerd."
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, now we shoot at him.
But yeah, then he runs through this little village, and it comes back to Ethan Hawke's characters, like walking through a crowd of people, and apparently they're all like cult members or something. They're all followers. Right. And so he's got this cane, and it comes out basically that the cane is a relic of this other god that's still dormant. What is it? It starts with an A. Amit. And so basically the relic, this cane, like he can judge a person basically if they're going to do evil in the future. And so he'll test people. He tests one guy and he's like, oh, this is a good guy. He tests one old lady and she's like, I've been good all my life. And he's like, I believe you, but the cane says you're going to do something awful in the future. So basically he drops her on the ground.
She was about to go rape somebody.
Right. And he's just like, sorry, I wish you could see the world we're going to create. And he just dumps her on the ground.
She's waiting until 89 to eat a baby.
By the way, what's the backstory on how he got these like scale powers where he can like do that to people?
Well, he was Khonshu's former avatar.
Right.
So, yeah, it doesn't really get into the story how he gets this, but somehow he gets fed up with...
because, I mean, he's not currently Amit's avatar,
he's not
right?
an avatar.
Because
he just has the relic.
Right.
So at some point... I mean, he was Moon Knight, so he had power. At some point, he got this relic.
But he never wanted... Like, he was never trying to become an avatar, was he? He was just trying to free Amit?
Well, he was an avatar, but I assume freeing her, he would become the avatar.
Was that just part of it?
Well, once he... And again, it's been a while, but once he frees Amit, doesn't he, like... say something like he assumes like she would just like kill him or something and he was fine with that?
Well, yeah, it was weird because like he gets judged, the same, right? And the scales come out basically he is going to bring evil in the world, and whereas like the whole thing is about them killing people before they do evil, like this god is like, yeah, I get it, but it's okay for you or whatever. And she like gives him a pass. it was weird.
Yeah.
Because her last avatar, he was good, or he lived by her rules basically, and he still betrayed her. So she was like, "I'll just go with somebody that just I like."
So I remember Harold's like, "Give me the scarab," and like. He tries to, but like every time Harold goes to try to take it, like he pulls it back because he's like, conflicted.
It's like Mark is
right. And then eventually, like I think he blacks out, and then all of a sudden he's like on the road driving a van, and
right. He gets surrounded in like a
cupcake van.
Yeah, but like every time he gets in like a real pinch, like he blacks out. And then he comes to, and there's just a bunch of dead people around.
Yeah, and he's got like a gun and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that happens once. He gets in the ice cream van.
And yeah, Mark keeps basically taking over his body, even though we're not introduced to Mark quite yet.
Yeah, and I'm not sure like when it's Mark and when it might be that other guy.
I assume right in this scene, like it's just Mark, but
yeah, they take off in this van. They're going down this mountain with all these like hairpin turns and whatever.
Right.
Cars are following him, shooting at him. And, like, it goes back and forth a few times, but, like, every time he gets in, like, in a tight pinch, someone else steps in, and then there's a bunch of more dead people.
Yeah.
And that goes on for a while, and eventually he just wakes up in his bed.
Yeah. And so, at that point, like, I guess as an audience, we could possibly think, oh, is that all in his head? Even though we all kind of think it happened.
Yeah. They played with that for a little while, kind of keeping you wondering what's going on.
I gotta say, a part of me thinks this series would be more interesting if they made it so like Khonshu and everything, like we never really knew if it was real or all in his head. But the things he does as Moon Knight obviously defy the laws of physics and things. So we're like, okay, there is a supernatural element here for sure, you know. Yeah, so he wakes up, and then he just kind of tries to go about his normal life again, but he doesn't know that like 2 days have passed, right?
Right. I think that's kind of like close to the end of the first episode or whatever.
Well, I remember he tries to go on his date, and she doesn't show, so he calls, and she's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? It's 2 days later.
Yeah, well, he wakes up, in his bed, and, like, the fish thing comes up, and there's, like, a fish in the tank that has both its fins.
Yeah, so what's the deal with the fish? I was a little confused on the fish.
Well, it was, like, prevalent enough that I was like, is this, like, something meaningful, or is this symbolic, or what is this? But he goes to this fish store, and she's like, oh, you were here yesterday. So I'm assuming one of his other personalities went to the fish store and got a new fish because the other one was dead or something.
Yeah, that's what I didn't get. Because, like
it was just random.
Knowing Mark, like, I wouldn't think he would really give a shit.
Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, there's a floater.
And, like, we don't know much about Jake besides that he's a killer. So you wouldn't necessarily think he'd be like, oh, we better replace that fish.
Yeah.
But then isn't there at one point where he has, like, 2 fish in the tank?
Yeah, at the end.
I don't remember that. At the end, does he have, like, the regular fish and the one missing?
I'm not sure if one is missing an arm. I just know he has 2 fish at the end.
Maybe that fish has multiple personalities.
Eventually there's 3 fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little confused. I wasn't sure exactly what we were supposed to, like, think of that, like...
But yeah, like you said, he lost a couple days and then he tries to go on his date and she's pissed at him and breaks up with him immediately. So she's out of the picture.
Now, they mentioned it in the recap, and I don't remember exactly where it happens in the episode, but he does find the phone hidden that Layla calls him on.
Right. He finds some like scratch marks on the floor and figures out the table has been moved. So he moves it over and he's like, realizes there's a board that's misplaced.
Right.
And so, yeah, he gets in there. He finds the phone. He finds like a key to something. And, yeah, he starts hearing like, is it Mark or Conchu? I think he hears Mark. You're telling him to like leave it alone, to just like, you know, stop pursuing it or whatever. But yeah, he gets in the phone and like he checks the call log and they're all to Layla, except for there's like one like 40 down that says "Do Champ."
Oh, in the comics, there's a character I believe he calls Frenchie, who I don't know if he's like his version of Alfred or something, but he's an ally, okay. And I think that's the guy.
Okay, so he never comes into play, but he's
apparently out there.
He's an Easter egg or something.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, he calls Layla because he's confused, and she's all worried because he hasn't called her in like months or something.
Right.
And so they just have this confusing conversation where she doesn't understand why he has an accent.
Right.
All this business.
Although his accent's like good enough. Don't you think she could have almost maybe been like,
who is this?
Yeah, did I die? Or
like,
do I
know
have
your Mark?
I would know that fake British accent.
But yeah, she's all confused and yeah. And I don't know, I guess somehow she tracks him from this because he hangs up, right?
Yeah, in episode 2, she basically just, finds him at the storage lockers, and I don't know if it ever really explains how.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what happened to the scarab, like, in between this, but he doesn't seem like he has it.
I mean, we have to assume that Mark went and put it in the storage locker.
That's right, because he had his key, okay.
But anyway, he eventually makes him back to work, and his cunty female boss makes him work late or something.
Right, there's also a scene where, like, he was on the bus. When he got off, he saw Ethan Hawke on the bus through the window. So he knows, he's still present. He's like, oh, shit, he's real.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that bit.
There's like even a little confrontation in the museum later because of that.
Yeah, a big one.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's broken into two pieces because he's in there doing whatever, and Ethan Hawke comes in, and then they talk, and I forget why he let him go. Oh, he judged him in there, like he did the judgment thing.
Oh,
with the
right.
cane in there, and like he's got this tattoo of scales that balance on his arm, so you can see, and it won't stop going back and forth. So he's like, you have chaos in you.
right.
Like, so he's not good, bad. He's got chaos in him, apparently.
Right.
And at that point, Ethan Hawke says, "Let him go." He leaves, and this was kind of a weird scene because it seemed like all the museum staff came around and they were all part of his cult. And I was like, how are all these people like they're vetted and just waiting?
Yeah, it seemed like there was maybe a little too many people in this
Right.
cult, where it's just like, okay, like everybody here is a cult member.
Everybody? Bob? Nobody knew about him. He's like the only person that wasn't in the cult. But yeah, so that goes on. They leave, and it's weird because like later that same night, like why did he leave? Because that night he just like summons this like demon jackal dog thing to like go and attack him in the museum.
Well, I mean, he didn't want to do it with a bunch of witnesses around.
I guess.
But they can't see the jackal anyway.
Oh yeah, it was invisible to everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean, it would still be wrecking shit. So, yeah, I don't think they wanted.
For whatever reason, that's what the path he chose.
Yeah, right,
And there was something like give up the scarab and you won't be ripped apart or something.
right. But anyway, he ends up, locking himself in the bathroom to try to get away from the jackal. The jackal's starting to beat down the door, and so then in the mirror, Mark starts to talk to him and says, "Hey, you got to give the body up to me and let me deal with this."
Yeah, and that becomes prevalent at that point that there's multiple people, they can see themselves in reflections. And so, yeah, it's going, tension building, the door's buckling, and he finally gives it over, like right in the nick of time. And that's the first time we see the suit. Like Mark dons the Moon Knight suit and kicks the shit out of the dog.
Well, he starts out as Steven, right? He starts out as like Mr. Knight, I think. Am I wrong?
When did that? That does happen at some point. I think that happens later because
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't happen until episode 2.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they're having a fight and like he's forced to put it on.
I kind of like how the suit, magically envelops him, but I don't know. There's something about the CGI suit where I'm like I know they had to make it so it went on and fast, but a part of me is like a practical suit maybe would have looked cooler, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was okay with it. I feel like a practical suit, it's just a hassle, right? Like, they have to, like, keep touching it up every scene, every cut, like-
Right. I think at the very least, though, like the Mr. Knight suit would have looked cooler if it was just a suit and mask.
I think so, yeah. I thought it was cool either way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to episode 2, unless you guys got anything else on that one. So episode 2 is called Summon the Suit. Grant is blamed for the damage caused by the jackal creature due to it not appearing on the museum security cameras and is fired. Now, I don't remember, but wouldn't it have still showed like shit moving that he didn't touch, or am I wrong?
Well, I don't think it really hit anything like in the main museum part, and it wasn't until he got like down the bottom where he was throwing around shelves and shit. So maybe that part wasn't on camera.
I mean, do they think he himself would have been strong enough to like fuck up the bathroom door so bad though?
I don't know. Yeah, there was definitely some damage that should be questionable down there.
He uses the key card to access a storage locker where he finds the scarab. He speaks with his reflection, another identity in Grant's body, that introduces himself as American mercenary Mark Spector, the current avatar of the Egyptian moon god Khonshu. Grant is controlled or is confronted by Layla Spector's confronted by Layla, Spectre's wife, who is unaware of Grant's existence, before being arrested by police officers working for Harrow. More people in the old cabal. Harrow reveals that he was Khonshu's previous avatar until he chose instead to follow Amit. He explains that he wants to use the scarab to find Amit's tomb and resurrect her so she can purge humanity of evil by wiping out everyone who has or will ever commit evil deeds. Layla rescues Grant, but Harrow summons another jackal creature. Grant manages to summon a suit of his own, so that's where he becomes Mr. Knight, to fight the jackal, but is overpowered and allows Spectre to take control. Spectre kills the jackal, but loses the scarab to Harrow. Khonshu threatens to claim Layla as his next avatar if Spectre fails to stop Harrow. So very Minority Report with the whole, like, stopping criminals before they even commit a crime.
The Department of Future Crime, something like that.
Right. Any highlights or things about this episode?
Just that Mr. Knight suit. They introduced that, so you got to see Stephen Grant become Mr. Knight.
Right.
And that was
Yeah, he's got like the nerdy like 3-piece suit.
What did you guys think of the Layla character?
I didn't really like make her an important part of the story. I felt like she was an okay side character. I didn't really feel too invested in her. She becomes a hero later, so I guess maybe there's like some sort of spin-off for her in the future, but I'm not too invested in that.
She seemed kind of accepting that her boyfriend has another personality in there.
It took her a while though, because like when they first met, didn't she either think he was like full of shit for a while, or just like, I don't know, it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean there was something.
Yeah, she never knew about Stephen Grant, which is wild because.
But even like after she accepts it or whatever, it seems like she's kind of like attracted to him. Sometimes, I'm like, your other dude's in there, you know.
I mean, the other thing is like, so we find out eventually that like, Mark created Steven when he was like very young.
Right.
So you would think that either him or the Jake Loxley personality would have came out at some point in their relationship, don't you?
Yeah, and it's kind of weird if you try to say some kind of timeline, it's like, when did this guy get an apartment and have this whole career as like an Egyptologist / storekeeper / tour guide or whatever the fuck he is? And like Mark is also doing all this other life stuff.
Yeah, like how did he ever keep his job?
Right.
Because Mark never stopped doing missions for Khonshu.
This is another thing. Like once he figures out like something's going on, why does he keep going to work? Like if I destroyed the bathroom and the shit downstairs, I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm fired, and I'd just leave and never come back.
At the very least, like if I kept blacking out and waking up in weird places, like even I would be like, maybe I should see somebody about this.
Right. Maybe I need some anti-seizure medication.
Because I mean, Fight Club, like, he was never like waking up in weird places, right? So he would have never really had a
right. He just had insomnia.
Right.
He's always tired.
Right. And by the way, Steven should always be tired because like all the shit Mark's doing.
He's getting some exercise.
Yeah. I guess moving right along then, episode 3, The Friendly Type.
Worst place to wake up randomly.
the Blue Oyster Bar from Police Academy. You just wake up and they're like, dun, 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 no.
Anytime you wake up in a bar, that's got to be bad.
Episode 3, The Friendly Type.
Oh.
I
saw a picture. You know those big trough urinals?
Yeah.
I saw one where a dude was passed out in one of those.
Oh, geez.
That's gotta be up there because he had to have woken up at some point.
I wonder if anyone's ever drowned in one of those.
Oh God! What a way to go.
So episode 3, Harrow and his followers discover the location of Amit's tomb in the Egyptian desert. In Cairo, Spectre and Grant both experience blackouts while tracking a lead to Harrow's location. So yeah, that was the first time, because I remember they're interrogating those guys, and like all of a sudden he wakes up and they're all dead, and Steven's like, Mark, what did you do? And he's like, that wasn't me, or whatever. So at that point, we know there's a third guy. After failing to gain information, Khonshu calls a council between his fellow Egyptian gods and their avatars to warn them of Harrow's plans.
So let's pause for a second, because
Sure.
I might be getting my timeline mixed up. So Harrow has this scarab to find the tomb of this goddess. And so basically he falls out in the desert, and they're out there digging.
Right.
So he's pretty much found it, right?
I think so.
So this was kind of confusing to me, because did that happen before? Like he's actually like out like digging close to finding it or something, I think.
They're digging for it.
Right. Okay. But yeah. So why did Khonshu call the thing like? Oh, basically because they didn't know where he was, but they knew he was getting close.
Right. They knew he had the scarab and must be close.
So basically their only tactic was to call the gods to try to stop it right there.
Right.
Okay.
But I have a question about that when we get to it. Yeah, after failing to gain information, Khonshu calls a council between his fellow Egyptian gods and their avatars to warn them of Harrow's plans. But Harrow successfully denies the accusations. Okay, how stupid are these avatars that they're like, oh, we're not going to investigate this at all. We're just going to like take this guy's word for it. And obviously we can see this guy's a little crazy, so we believe this guy.
Well, in the council, the actual gods are present in them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so also, like, yeah, this guy just... Well, maybe back up for a second.
It just seems like somebody, one of those gods, could have been like, okay, this guy's being accused of like having the scarab and like going to Amit's tomb or whatever. Like, we're gonna like use our powers
Investigate a little
to
bit.
investigate and see. Oh, yep, they're definitely his followers. They're digging holes. Like, it just was so stupid that they like so quickly like believed him.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a huge
But
problem.
they're kind of like petty anyway, and so he knows he might be in prison, Khonshu, for this. But he comes in front of them, and he's just like kind of a cocky asshole to them, even though he knows they might fuck him up. I'm like, this guy's strategy is not great. Like, this isn't how you go to court at all.
No.
But
yeah, like you said, I definitely thought that was a bit of a plot hole or just something that didn't ring true.
But yeah,
to me.
they do all that, and then after the accusation that Harrow's trying to raise this goddess, they're like, this is a serious accusation, and then they like summon him there, and yeah, basically he just lies to them, and they're like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little more complicated because they talk to.
I'll just read the rest of the thing here. Hathor's avatar, Yatzil, tells Spectre to find the sarcophagus of Medjay, who knew of the location of Amit's tomb. Layla finds Spectre and takes him to meet with Anton Mogart, an acquaintance who owns the sarcophagus. Harrow arrives and destroys it, forcing Spectre, Grant, and Layla to fight off Mogart's men and escape into the desert. Grant assembles some of the sarcophagus fragments into a star map, but it is 2,000 years out of date. Khonshu uses his powers to briefly turn back the night sky to the correct night, allowing Grant and Layla to find Amit's tomb. The other gods imprison Khonshu in a Ushabti for this, leaving Grant and Spectre's body without Khonshu's powers. So going back a bit, so they go to this like rich guy that owns a sarcophagus. Why did Harrow even go there? Like
Right. I don't know. He should have been out in the desert just pursuing. I guess somehow he knew what they were going to do and decided to try to preempt them so they couldn't stop him. It's shaky.
Yeah. The more we get into this, like I like the show, but the more we talk about it, I'm like, there really was some nonsense in there. Yeah, that didn't make much
But yeah, supposedly this sarcophagus has the location of the tomb, and so they go on an adventure looking for that. Which, yeah, the whole thing is kind of.
The other thing is, like, okay, Khonshu uses his power, and him and Mr. Knight, they, swirl the sky, and he gets in trouble for it. But a part of me is thinking, like, there's probably some sort of star website where they could have just looked this shit up and found it without doing that.
Easy. Yeah, you're probably right.
Let's see.
Like Google. Fuck, why am I have to be in prison and stuff? Dumbass.
Is there anything else you can think of that episode that maybe you'd want to touch on?
Is there anything that happens? They're at that big party and there's a big fight. And one thing about the woman is like she does heroics, but they have her fighting these guys. And I'm like, she's not protected at all. The other guy's got the moon suit at least. He's got armor.
Right.
And she's just out there kicking everybody's ass. I'm like, yeah, that's a little shaky. And there's other times too, I think, when like Mark will be fighting or something, he won't have the suit. I'm like, you got the suit, right? Why don't you put on the suit? Just put on the suit. He could stab you right now.
Plus, just visually, like, it's more entertaining for us if he's fighting in the suit, right? And doing Moon Knight shit. I don't know if it mentions this, but like I think it's maybe in this next episode. There's that scene where like she saves him by distracting the guys with the flare, and then she throws the flare in the truck, and just because it lands on like a stack of bullets, it just like starts the bullets off, and I'm like, I don't think that would happen. Get the Mythbusters on this one. I don't think that road flare is going to set off all those bullets. So episode 4, The Tomb. Grant and Layla find a deserted campsite at the location of Amit's tomb, which is a maze in the shape of the Eye of Horus. I mean, I kind of remember them going to the thing. I don't remember it showing like a big maze or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. They get inside the tomb at any rate.
They discover that some of Harrow's men have been killed by undead Egyptian priests, who then attack Grant and Layla. Layla defeats the priest, but encounters Harrow, who claims that Spectre was one of the mercenaries who murdered her archaeologist father, Abdallah el-Faloi. Grant finds the tomb and discovers that Amit's last avatar was Alexander the Great. He retrieves Amit's Ushabti from inside Alexander's body. Layla angrily confronts Spectre, who reveals that his partner killed Layla's father, and Spectre himself before Khonshu revive Spectre as his avatar. Harrow arrives and shoots Spectre, who wakes up in a psychiatric hospital populated by people from his life. After escaping from Harrow, he appears as a therapist at the hospital. Spectre finds Grant in a separate body trapped in a sarcophagus. They also see a second sarcophagus with someone else trapped inside, so another indication that there's a third being, before being greeted by a female hippopotamus-headed figure. One thing I remember was like when she confronts him about like, did you kill my father or whatever, and he kind of tells that story. Like she gets all mad at him, but a part of me was thinking like, couldn't you guys get out of there first and then like go through this story or whatever when you know like the bad guys are on your heel?
Yeah. There was some point where I was like, yeah, go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like get the fuck out of there.
What was the deal? Why did he desecrate like the Alexander the Great's mummified body again?
Well, he had some clue that it was like stuck down his throat.
Oh, the statue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had to pry open his mouth and reach down his throat. I forget exactly what the clue was, but yeah, he had some sort of clue that made him do that. I don't.
It must have been part of the.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. The parchment or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Yeah, I kind of wish I remembered, like... I mean, the thing of it is, it's like, at the end of the episode when he gets shot and he wakes up, in the hospital, like, did you guys ever get the impression, like, oh, maybe it was all in his head? Because for me, I was just like, I never really believed that like the stuff that happened before wasn't real.
Right. I just assumed he was on the passage to the underworld or whatever, wherever in the fuck they go, the field of reeds. But like this kind of in between, like it's not a purgatory really. It's a ship where.
Well, you're skipping ahead to episode 5.
We're skipping ahead, but he's in this space where it's like a psychiatrist's office. But Ethan Hawke is his psychiatrist, which I never really entirely figured out.
Yeah, because like it's basically, well, it's not even really in his own head. It kind of is, but it's also like a literal version of the underworld. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why would a version of Harrow be there? Like, why all of this?
Yeah.
I mean, I forget the hippopotamus lady, you know, says that the underworld looks different depending on like the person, and she's like, "Oh, I've never seen it as a mental hospital."
Yeah.
But like at the same time, like I was like, yeah, he's got this like thing, but has he ever himself been to a mental hospital?
I'm not sure.
And like, I don't know, I don't think they set it up enough to be like why it would be like that.
Yeah.
It was more just like, oh, how do we like throw the people off? Or
yeah, it just kind of it did throw me off.
Well, in the comics, like there was a point where he did see like a psychiatrist, and I'm not sure, but that psychiatrist might have had like some sort of, they had an impact on his life, but I don't know if they were like nefarious or what the deal was.
oh yeah, I read that run. Yeah, it's like the psychiatrist turns out to, I don't remember if they were a bad guy or.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so no, not the psychiatrist, the rabbi. The rabbi of the family turns out to be a Nazi who kills.
That's a turns. Like if I pretend I'm a Jew, they'll never know.
Yeah, who kills people, and he sees it, and that's when he becomes like this multiple personality disorder type.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like, because I remember, like, there was a long section, well, maybe it was in episode 5, but, you know, of Harrow and him having the discussion and, like, basically him, you know, trying to make him think that he's made up all this stuff.
Right, he's trying to throw him off make him doubt himself, and like every time, like it reboots to that scene multiple times, but like he'll get angry or frustrated and like he'll escape out into the hospital, and so at some point you find out the hospital and all the rooms and stuff are part of this giant arc or something that's going off to the afterlife, but I guess the big takeaways is he's supposed to deal with his problems on there. And like you said, there's the hippopotamus god. So at some point she takes out their hearts and puts them on a scale. And it's not balancing like the chaos thing. So
Well, before I get there, I was wondering, do you guys remember that scene? It would have been either the end of episode 4, maybe the beginning of 5, where it goes to like that crappy looking like adventure video where like there's that adventure and his name is Stephen Grant. So we get the feeling that like that's a video like him and his brother watched as kids. And that's presumably where he got the name Stephen Grant.
Right, that's where he started creating the character.
But that character doesn't act at all like Stephen Grant, really.
Right. That guy's actually brave and stuff.
Right.
But he is like, he does take on like the archaeologist and he's like, you know, a student of Egyptology and stuff. So there's elements there.
So let me really quick, I'll read the breakdown to episode 5 because you're kind of going into it, and then I'll let you finish your point there. Episode 5 is called Asylum. The hippopotamus-headed woman in the Egyptian goddess Taweret. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Who explains that Spectre and Grant are dead, and the psychiatric hospital is a boat sailing through the Duat, the Egyptian afterlife. Oop, my stupid phone's messing up on She weighs their hearts on a scales of justice to determine whether they can enter the field of reeds. But the hearts are imbalanced by hidden memories that she suggests they explore together. Which is kind of like a convenient plot point to get us to see the things we need to see, but okay. Grant sees a memory of Spectre's younger brother Randall drowning and Spectre's mother blaming him for it, while Spectre shows Grant how he became Khonshu's avatar while on a mission with his partner Bushman, who murdered Layla's father. Spectre and Grant convince Taweret to help them return to the living world so they can stop Harrow, and she steers the boat towards the gates of Osiris. Spectre reluctantly explains that he unknowingly created Grant as a result of his mother's abuse. Grant and Spectre reconcile with each other, but their scales fail to balance and hostile spirits attack them, dragging Grant into the Duat where he turns to sand. The scales balance and Spectre finds himself in the field of reeds.
Yeah, there was one thing about the scales balancing there that I just didn't get. Like, the whole point was that Spectre and Grant couldn't both go to the field of reeds because they were unbalanced, but this whole time there was the third personality, Jake Lockley, that was in there.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, the show hasn't even really addressed him. You suspect he exists, but yeah, you would think he would be on the boat regardless. And there is like a sarcophagus on the boat, so presumably he's in that. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's a whole. It especially comes up when you're like, oh, there was a third guy. Why wasn't he there? He obviously has some psychological issues. This third guy.
Well, the thing is like, so like they confront their memories.
Yeah.
So it would make sense knowing what we know that like they would still be imbalanced because we know there's that third guy there. But then why, when Steven gets thrown off the boat, are they magically balanced?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be, because we know the Jake character's still
around
there. So yeah, and you brought this up to me off the show, but you're right. Retroactively, like that part doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Once
you really know that he exists.
Right. I mean, I'm sure they can come up with some sort of reason to pave over that, but it definitely creates a logic problem, I think.
Yeah.
I will say, though, like, most people I hear, like, talking online say that this episode was their favorite episode because it does have kind of all the personal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it gets to that. I found it a little tedious. Some of the backstory is good, like you said, accidentally killing the little brother, and then the estrangement from the mother because she just kind of outwardly hates him after that.
Right.
And so he created this other identity and kind of protects him from the shitty part of his mom, and that's why Steven still thinks he has a mom and has a good relationship with her, even though it comes out that she had died, which makes his phone calls really weird. But yeah, that's kind of like they go back and forth on that a few times. I found it kind of tedious that they kept going back to Harrow, and I don't know. I didn't really love that aspect of it.
You know what's curious is, so like, obviously, like when we open the show, like Grant has no idea that Mark exists, right?
Right, and he does mention that he tried to keep a wall between them, but it broke down.
But at the same time, like, Mark is self-aware when Grant is created, right? He knows Grant exists.
Yeah.
But seemingly, neither of them somehow know that Jake exists.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Yeah.
Because you would almost think that if, like, trauma forced Mark to create Grant, that something would have forced him to create Jake.
Maybe Jake's the first personality and he really did kill his brother.
That could be interesting, actually, if like, because all this time we thought Mark was like the primary and he invented Steven.
Yeah, but his dad calls him Mark too.
That's true.
Yeah,
True.
His dad always loved him and stuck with him throughout it. Yeah.
So it does seem like Mark is kind of the
first,
original.
Yeah.
You know what could be interesting is if one of his personalities was a woman.
I think you're interested in that.
All of a sudden, like, he puts on a high-pitched voice, and then, like, when he changes to Moon Knight, it's like this evening gown. Tell me you wouldn't watch. Although eventually they will have to make a third Moon Knight suit, right, for the Jake personality.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping the last episode they would have shown it, but
I think it's going to be a zoot suit.
But I mean, the Mr. Knight character has a suit, so it would seem redundant, right, if he had a...
Yeah.
A suit and a zoot suit are not the same thing, sir.
I actually don't know what a zoot suit looks like.
Is it like one of
Kind of
those
flamboyant.
jazz type
Yeah,
suits?
jazzy.
Maybe like he'll have like MC Hammer pants.
Well, he's supposed to be like an Italian gangster type, right?
Yeah. He's got like a fedora.
Yeah.
Boy. I feel like there's things in that episode that I forgotten and paved over, but
Yeah, we kind of hit the high points.
Yeah, I remember episode 5 being my favorite in the whole series.
But yeah, towards the end, there's a confrontation on the boat. Like you said, one gets thrown out, the scales balance, and the other one finds himself in the field of reeds.
right, and that's how that episode ends.
And then he's like, no, fuck this, I want to go back. And then you're like, oh, all that other shit was pointless.
Well, let me get to it here. So episode 6, Gods and Monsters. Harrow frees Amit and kills the avatars of the other Egyptian gods. Layla finds Khonshu's Ushabti and releases him. Although it doesn't, it kind of skips over the part where like a bunch of Harrow's guys are killed, and Taweret, the hippopotamus god, starts talking to Layla like through them.
Oh, yeah.
She first says like go back and like save Mark or do something to save Mark, but she's like, no, I'm gonna go with Harrow instead. Anyway, Spectre refuses to stay in the field of reeds and returns to the Duat to rescue Grant. With Toweret's help, they escape through the gates of Osiris and awaken in their body. Khonshu rebonds with them, restoring their powers. Layla discovers that Amit can be rebound by multiple avatars and agrees to become the temporary avatar of Taweret. They join Spectre, Grant, and Khonshu in fighting Harrow and Amit. Harrow overpowers Spectre and Grant, but they experience a blackout, during which time they somehow defeat Harrow. Which is both another way to, hint at something we already know about, and like I feel like skip over an action scene and get out cheaper. Spectre and Layla seal Amit in Harrow's body, imprisoning her, and Khonshu urges Spectre to execute Harrow and Amit. Spectre refuses and orders Khonshu to release him and Grant from their service. The pair find themselves in the hospital, where they reject the vision and choose to continue their new life together as heroes. In a mid-credits scene, Harrow is killed by Jake Lockley, Spectre's third alter, who is still working with Khonshu. One thing that comes to mind that I was talking to him about is like, so Layla, she becomes the avatar of the hippopotamus god, but she, like, her thing is like she gets wings, and I'm like, that would make more sense if it was like an eagle god or some sort of bird god, right? Instead of the hippopotamus god. I don't know what power she would get from a hippopotamus god, but it just seemed a little weird to me that wings were the thing she got.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know, but I mean, I guess it's good that she doesn't look like a hippopotamus too.
That could be funny, though.
She's just chomping on people.
But I mean, the Moon Knight suit, it kind of has the moon theme, but then like the hippopotamus guy, and, it just seemed kind of weird.
Yeah.
And isn't there like a maybe I'm wrong, but isn't there an Egyptian god that's a bird?
Yeah, is it
Horus, right?
Is it Horus? Which one starts with an I?
In Latin, Jehovah begins with an I.
I'm forgetting, but yeah, there are statues with like either a hawk or an eagle.
First of all, a short episode. I think it was only like 42 minutes or something to wrap things up. So even going into it, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be even long enough to kind of satisfyingly bring this to a conclusion. And that's kind of my problem with a lot of these Marvel shows is just like, I don't know. I feel like they're almost like these bite-sized morsels that aren't quite satisfying.
Yeah. Just when it gets good, like that's when the season ends. Like just when you're ready to watch it.
Right.
Oh, it is horse.
I think
it's a
Loki ended the best way. You know, just because like it ended strong, but it had like a lot going on up until the ending, so it led up to it pretty
right.
well.
Yeah, sometimes like their lead in, their build up time is on the long side, and then it's like, bang, you're done.
The resolution just seems too quick sometimes, I think.
Yeah. So one thing about there's a connection here between WandaVision and Moon Knight. That Wanda, she gets her powers of the Scarlet Witch from the demon Chthon, right? They mentioned that in Doctor Strange 2. That is the same demon that was run off by the Demiurge, and the Demiurge was the creation of Gaia and the Earth's atmosphere. So they like created the Demiurge. And the Demiurge is what ran off Chthon and all the elder gods. And the Demiurge is who became Amun-Ra. So he's the one who led to the gods of Egypt, like Khonshu and them. So there's a connection there between WandaVision and this.
Interesting. And also, like, I don't know much about Kang, but in the comics, I believe he also has some sort of connection to Egypt.
Yeah, so he's Rama-Tut, like one of the former pharaohs of Egypt. And I think in Moon Knight, there's actually one person who's wearing like a jacket that has like his emblem on it. So I think that's a callback to Kang.
Oh, okay. It's like the thing about like Marvel, like as a whole, I guess this would be true at DC as well. Like, what you like, it's just weird that there's like actual like gods and shit, you know. Which I guess we started with Thor's kind of a god, you know, and like all the Asgardians, but like I don't know. It's just it creates a weird tapestry kind of all these like supernatural characters, but and then you got like the alongside the more grounded characters, you know. It's just it's kind of weird.
We're gonna see the Greek gods in Thor: Love and Thunder, I think.
Yeah, I've heard that. Which like that's also like kind of a weird thing. It's just like how do you explain like them?
Because that's the same problem you have with the Eternals. Like, what were they doing this whole time, right? How come they weren't helping?
Well, and if the Greek gods really exist, that means that they must have like came down to Earth, or how else would we know about them? You know,
right.
Although in Thor 1, don't we find out that like the Asgardians did visit Earth like a long time ago, like the Viking Age or something? I forget exactly what the context was, but it was something like that.
Yeah, well, I think it was trying to link Earth Vikings to their, you know,
To their
mythology.
Okay. Let's see. Any other thoughts about a Moon Knight? I'm sure there's things I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I forgot quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, decent. Some inconsistencies.
I'm looking for answers at the beginning of season 2 if they have it.
Yeah, I do hope they do a second season rather than just like throw them in Midnight Suns or something. Because, yeah, definitely like, especially ending like with the reveal of the Jake Lockley character and us knowing nothing about him. Like, I would like a show that just dedicated to, you know, the three of them, you know, just to get to know that character better, and also just because Oscar Isaac was so good,
Yeah.
Definitely want to see more of him. I'm trying to think, like, what do we got upcoming? So it's going to be Miss Marvel. Like, are you looking forward to Miss Marvel? Like, I do kind of enjoy the comics, but I feel like it is very much like a teenage drama.
It is, but man, that trailer is so good. Like, it looks so good. It has a fun 80s vibe to it. It seems like, is it 80s or 90s? I can't tell, actually, now that I think about it. But it's like a retro.
I
vibe
mean,
to it.
yeah, the 80s had a lot of those kind of movies, so
Yeah.
I guess I could see that.
I hope it's not 90s because 90s music sucks.
Well, it's not like it's not like a period piece set in the 80s. It's like modern day, so it's probably going to have modern day shitty music.
Oh, okay, but it just has like a retro look to it. Like there's like little bubbles and
Yeah, I haven't seen
old
that.
comic-y looking type.
It's been a while since I watched that trailer, but yeah, I would assume it's set in, modern day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a fun young kids movie. I think it's good that Marvel's reaching. I know Spider-Man is kind of that.
Yeah, I mean it is good and smart of them to go with different genres. Like I just hope that this show is like entertaining for adults as
Yeah.
well as kids, which I think it will be. Like I think they do a good job in the comics with her of making her much like a Peter Parker, where like just like her as a character and like the drama she has with her family is interesting. So like you don't need the superhero stuff on top of it. Like just her as a character is interesting.
And on top of that, like the soundtrack sounds amazing. Anyway, like from the trailer, the songs, the music, it sends chills down my spine when I listen to it.
Now remind me, like what kind of music did they have? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like remixes from like The Weeknd. I can't sing the song because I'm terrible, but yeah, I'll play it for you later. But it's really good, man. Fun new music.
New music.
I know it's new, but Marvel has its own touch to it. So
you're telling me they won't be playing 38 Special? I'll have to wait for Guardians 3 for good music. And then we got Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
and then
I'm
I
looking
think
forward to
She-Hulk later this year.
oh right, I know
There
that's gonna
wasn't
be a
an
series,
ad when we
right?
went to the movies.
There was what?
There wasn't like a preview
Well, I mean it's a TV show
or
though.
trailer.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
was
it is?
there was for Thor.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a movie.
No, She-Hulk's going to be a Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because much like with the Hulk is weird because like I think it's like Universal owns the distribution rights for the Hulk character, which means basically if Disney makes a movie of either Hulk or She-Hulk, they can do it, but then Universal has all the distribution rights, so which means that like they wouldn't even necessarily put it on Disney Plus or
Well, I'm sure they'd iron that out beforehand. They wouldn't be like, we made this movie.
I don't know. They've never been able to come to terms, so that's why like for the most part the Hulk just appears in other people's movies, and they're doing the TV show with She-Hulk. It just gets them to keep more of their money, which actually is fine to me. I'm not even like I've always found the Hulk to be kind of a one-dimensional character.
They fleshed him out, I think. I think they did okay.
There's a comic right now where the Hulk is like extremely powerful. He's got Bruce Banner controlling him, and it might be, if not the strongest form of the Hulk, one of the strongest we've ever seen. And he's fighting All-Father Thor. So that comic is coming out. That's actually happening right now. So
Hulk versus Thor.
yeah, All-Father Thor with Odin in his hammer.
Oh,
So it's like a just overpowered matchup that they're doing right now. Curious to see who wins.
the ever like long battle between
Most popular
yeah,
characters.
Thor and Hulk.
Yeah.
So yeah, those ought to be fun. I think on the movie front, it might just be Thor: Love and Thunder, because I think originally like they were going to try to get Black Panther 2 out in the fall, but then that slipped to 2023, I believe. But Thor looks fun, so we got some stuff to look forward to still. Circling back to Moon Knight, I guess. Overall, would you guys rate it scale of 1 to 10?
I'll give it like a 6.3 out of 10.
Yeah, 6.5.
I was thinking like 7, but now you're making me second guess.
It's only half a point.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's definitely like it's in that mid range. Yeah. So yeah, I'll go 7 out of 10. I hate that so much stuff that we've reviewed lately. I feel that way about like I almost feel like the funner reviews are like the stuff that's really good or the stuff that's really bad. Although, I guess like TV wise, Hawkeye was the last thing we did that was really bad.
Yeah.
Movie wise, maybe like Wonder Woman 84. That wasn't very good.
Right.
Yeah, that was mediocre.
We didn't see Morbius. That would have been a fun review.
Maybe when it comes out on video, we should watch it. Just
Yeah, that did not do well at all. Morbius.
I mean, I think it made money, but yeah, review wise, like it seems like seems like it's pretty bad. Hey, do you think? I was talking to him. Like, do you think for like the next Marvel show, like we should do this again, or should we try like reviewing it like week to week, like a spoiler review every week?
I think we should do episode to episode.
Maybe we should try that.
Yeah.
It'd probably make us remember more.
That's what I'm thinking. Is we'd have a little more, details to go on. We could do well. I was gonna say that we could do like the start doing Star Wars, like the Obi-Wan series is coming up, but like I don't know if any of us are like nerdy enough into Star Wars to really give a great review.
Yeah, I don't have the deep background knowledge.
I don't know. Everyone just wants to see more Baby Yoda. Why are you guys fucking around with all this other stuff? Baby Yoda.
It's weird though, because like
Boba Fett.
old Yoda is my least favorite Star Wars character. Like I fucking hate him. He sucks.
I liked Yoda.
So like when they bring it, then they're like, "Oh, we got Baby Yoda." I'm like, great, fucking another one of these assholes. Like I want him to stay a baby forever because I never want another old ass annoying Yoda.
Well, the thing is, he lives for such a long period of time. Like he could be a baby for 100 years.
Okay, that works. That works. Never skip ahead. Never skip ahead.
Baby Yoda. Baby Jar Jar.
All right, guys. You got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, that'll do it.
Nope.
Well, guys, thank you very much, anyone who made it this long. Hopefully, everybody for joining us. If you will, please subscribe both to our YouTube channel and on your podcast service of choice. Leave us thumbs up, positive reviews, comments. Tell us anything else you'd like us to review. We'd probably be happy to do it. And also, why not annoy us on Twitter or just ask us fun questions? Guys, where can people find you on Twitter?
At a name for this too, and that's the number 2.
At Unsolicited SUG.
And you can, of course, find me at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. And that is going to do it for all of our shenanigans and poppycock this week. Please, please, please tune in again next week. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one.